And when they denied me that right to ban the burqa, well, if you don't want to ban the burqa, then I'll go and put it on. And that's exactly what I did. And that even upset them more. So you don't want to ban it, but you don't want me wearing it.
And where are our British politicians, by the way, backing that type of sensible position? Why isn't Reform UK's Sarah Pochen walking into the House of Commons in a burqa too tomorrow, given she backs the ban? It would make the same point all around the world. Once again, it's been left to the unelected Tommy Robinson. The eyes of the Western world continue to look to the Disunited Kingdom with growing horror at the Islamist takeover, the failure of multiculturalism, and the suicidal empathy coming from our completely toothless leaders and elite class. So much so that this BBC poll has gone viral.
Twain shall meet, unfortunately, on this one. We do have to bring you our vote because you have been voting in the text and online vote today. So here is the result. Is multiculturalism working? Here is what you told us. 5% of those of you who voted said yes, it is. 95% of those of you who voted this morning said no, it isn't.
Okay, so that poll has been exploding all over the internet over the past 48 hours. The problem is that, as Tommy Robinson pointed out, this poll is over a decade old. The guest, who we saw on that show, Vivienne Westwood, is now dead. And the British Bashing Corporation would simply never ask a poll, or they'd never conduct a poll like that. They'd never ask the people a question like that, because the horror examples of the chaos and carnage on our streets are so plentiful, and there is proof, thanks to a poll like that, that the vast majority of the population has been ignored for the past decade, or I would argue far longer than that. Just today, illegal migrants have been caught wandering around a children's primary school with kids as young as 5 attending in Aberdeen. Watch.
Where the weirdos coming?
What? It's got to do with you. Why you got a camera?
I
speak with my friend. Okay. Tell him this is what's walking about our children's school.
Ex-military hero and London Mayor contender Ant Middleton has called on locals to set up roaming patrols in your communities and move them on. He says you can apply force where necessary, know your rights, people, and start protecting your communities. That was after Adam Brooks reported this shocking new video from AY Audits. Watch.
This video was uploaded by AY Audits today of dozens of men in a children's play park right next to a migrant hotel. Now look, they're even playing on the swings. They're getting drunk and they're causing crime in local areas. We know nothing about these migrant men. Now, if you was a woman with a child, would you take your kid to that children's play park? If you say yes, you're lying. Now, would a group of women take their kids there? No way. Absolutely no way. You do not know what these men are capable of. We are paying for these men to get drunk and loiter about our streets and hang around children's play parks.
And these illegals have no respect for our culture, as Ben on Wine posted a video of an immigrant calling a woman a little bitch right in front of police officers who didn't even acknowledge it. He actually tells the woman, the patriot, to move on. And Ben on Wire concludes things are getting bad in two-tier Britain. This will enable these thugs to go one step further next time. Watch.
You little bitch.
What's that, mate? Hey, you're the one.
Protest. Women like that. Women like that.
But the leftists and politicians refuse to tackle the elephant in the room. And as I say, people from America are just looking over bemused. As Wall Street Mav posted, white people led by a hijabi woman protesting for refugees' welcome. What has gone wrong in these people's heads, where this is the top issue that gets them out protesting, supporting their own replacement? Are they being paid? What motivates this? Watch.
Tell me what Manchester looks like. This is what Manchester looks like. Tell me what Manchester looks like. This is what Manchester looks like. Tell me what Manchester looks like. This is what Manchester looks like. Tell me what Manchester looks like. This is what Manchester looks like.
Well, it might be what Manchester looks like now. That's not a good thing. And I just get so mad about how the elite class just shrug off these very intense and very real threats to our safety. Look at this most recent example that Tommy Robinson is reporting. A suspected Islamic terrorist question over bombings that killed 269 people in Sri Lanka is seeking asylum in the UK. In other words, is living in the UK already. This unnamed invader was arrested over allegations that he was involved in the 2019 Easter bombings in the country. The blast killed 6 Britons, including a mother and her 2 children. The man, who has been granted anonymity, why? Why? Left Sri Lanka in 2022 after being arrested and released on bail over the attacks in which suicide bombers targeted luxury hotels and churches. Send him home now. Get him out of here now. And every politician should be demanding that. But of course, just like so much, it is shrugged off by our regime media, which has decided to be more outraged about this woman, this patriotic woman, this hero, this Australian hero. It was a great honour for me to meet her earlier this year at CPAC in Australia, having followed her career for many, many years. I'm talking, of course, about Pauline Hanson, who has finally brought her calls to ban the burqa to international attention after this brilliant stunt in the Australian Senate yesterday went viral, but has seen her suspended from her job. But good on Pauline Hanson, today she doubled down. Dan Wootton Outspoken is available as a podcast too. So to listen or watch us on the go, wherever you are, then please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as a personal favour to me, please rate and review, as it really helps our independent show.
And when they denied me that right to ban the burqa, well, if you don't want to ban the burqa, then I'll go and put it on. And that's exactly what I did. And that even upset them more. So you don't want to ban it, but you don't want me wearing it.
Step why we saw the agenda. Are you aware of any incident in Australia?
It's not about incidents. It's not about incidents. It's the same thing as what I put up about climate change, or I put up about immigration policies, and I've spoken against multiculturalism. It's having a vision for the future, where the country's headed.
She's completely right. And I spoke to Pauline at CPAC in Australia, and she's utterly horrified about what's happened in the United Kingdom. She actually is trying to stop what's happened in the United Kingdom coming to Australia. She said she wouldn't even feel safe to be here anymore. And where are our British politicians, by the way, backing that type of sensible position? Why isn't Reform UK Sarah Pochen walking into the House of Commons in a burqa too tomorrow, given she backs the ban? It would make the same point all around the world. Once again, it's been left to the unelected Tommy Robinson to speak out on this and back Pauline Hanson. He wrote, the larger question is about face coverings. The burqa is just part of that discussion. The niqab also. Pop into East London or Birmingham or Luton sometime and see for yourself. I stand with Pauline Hanson. Ban the burqa. It's medieval. It's a cage for women. It segregates women from the rest of the population, and it's backward and retarded. So much of the fear, of course, the reason behind the silence, is because the mainstream media remain determined to call anyone racist. But I have to say, I now share the position of Restore Britain leader Rupert Lowe, who argued, I get called racist on a daily basis. That word has entirely lost all meaning now. It only has power if you believe it does. Don't cower. Don't apologize. Don't squirm. There is one appropriate response. I don't care. But that's quite the opposite reaction to that of Nigel Farage, who remains terrified, wrongly terrified in my belief, of the MSM turning on him, based on this bullshit Guardian report about what he apparently said in his school playground 50 years ago. But last night, the British Bashing Corporation joined this campaign.
Nigel Farage, the leader of Reform UK, says he's never directly racially abused anybody. He follows allegations in the Guardian newspaper that he was racist and anti-Semitic towards pupils while at school. Well, Joe Pike is live at Westminster for us. Joe, what's the background to all this?
Clive, more than a dozen former pupils told The Guardian they witnessed offensive behaviour from Nigel Farage when he was at Dulwich College in South London in the late 1970s and early 1980s. One Jewish pupil said he was targeted by Mr Farage, and Mr Farage would tell him Hitler was right and gas them. Another pupil, who is non-white, said he was targeted and told to go back where he'd come from, and there were various other claims. Now, the Party Reform UK said these allegations are entirely without foundation, but today was the first chance for Mr Farage to respond to those allegations on the record and on camera. As you say, he denied that he had directly racially abused anyone, said many of these claims have a huge political element to them, said that these claims were from almost 50 years ago, but did concede he may have taken part in what he described as playground banter.
This is nuts. The correct answer for Nigel to these mainstream media journalists is piss off. Seriously, piss off. Who gives a damn what I said in the playground 50 years ago? Is this all you've got? Is this all you've got? When Starmer is destroying the country? When jury trials are about to be ruled out of the United Kingdom, or what I believe is the first step to the end of democracy in this country, and you're talking to me about what I said in the playground 50 years ago? You are a joke. That's what Nigel Farage should have said to Woke ITV News last night. But instead, he looked really uncomfortable during this bizarre grilling. Watch.
Did you racially abuse fellow pupils when you were at school?
No, this is 49 years ago, by the way. 49 years ago. Have I ever tried to take it out on any individual on the basis of where they're from? No.
At school, categorically on the record, you did not racially abuse fellow pupils?
I would never, ever do it in a hurtful or insulting way.
That's not quite the same as not doing it.
It's 49 years ago. It's 49 years ago.
What difference is it? What difference to the time?
Isn't it? Well, I just entered my teens. Can I remember everything that happened at school? No, I can't. Have I ever been part of an extremist organisation or engaged in direct, unpleasant personal abuse, genuine abuse, on that basis? No.
You're not quite... That's very, very caveated. You're not quite ruling this out. The question is, did you ever racially abuse fellow pupils in school? No. You've caveated it with a hurtful way.
Not with intent.
What do you mean not with intent? I don't understand what you mean by not with intent. What does that mean?
You wouldn't do.
But what does that mean?
No.
No what?
No. I have never directly really tried to go and hurt anybody.
Nigel, seriously, what's happening to you? You need to be Trumpian about this. Because the Labour Party just ate up that interview, posting on their official feed. Nigel Farage just repeatedly failed to deny claims he racially abused fellow pupils at school. As Nick Dixon put it, the irony is Farage answered this badly precisely because he buys into the prevailing ideology, which says that racism is the ultimate evil. If he was less bothered, he would be more evil in their eyes, yet more impervious to their struggle sessions. And I completely agree with that. And he was much more comfortable during the rally in Wales a few minutes later, where he slammed the Tories for the Nazi slur by its chairman towards Reform UK.
And yet, the Tory chairman last night, Kevin Hollingrake, puts out on social media and compares our supporters, our members, to those who in the 1930s joined the Nazi Party. Not only is it insulting and wrong, but it's actually insightful and dangerous given the world we live in. Just think, that's exactly what they were saying about Charlie Kirk in the United States of America. Shame on him. Shame on him.
And even though I think the post on X by the Tories was idiotic and we need to stop comparing those on the right to the goddamn Nazis. Remember, the Nazis were actually hard leftist socialists, okay? I do respect Kemi Badenoch for refusing to apologise. Not often I say I respect her, but watch this.
Your chairman appeared to compare Reform to the Nazis in a recent tweet. I'll reform like the Nazis.
He didn't actually say anything at all. He just put a link to a Wikipedia page of who else had had golden historical badges. And let's be clear, Reform has got much bigger problems. On Friday, they had the leader of the party in Wales sentenced to prison for 10 years for spying on our country for Russia. I think that's a much bigger deal than a tweet.
Your former colleague, Suella Braverman, has said that Kevin Hollinrake got this wrong. Will you take this opportunity to condemn that tweet from your chairman?
I think given that when Sarah Pochin said she didn't like seeing black and brown faces on TV, Nigel Farage refused to apologise, I'm not going to apologise for a tweet that was made in jest. There's far too much time spent on silly things like tweets at a time when we've got a budget on Wednesday. Your viewers are out there really worried about what's going to be coming, more tax rises. As leader of the opposition, my job is to focus on Labour. People can make jokes on Twitter, that's fine. Right now, I've got to focus on what's going on out there.
But first, quick word on something I rely on every single day. Surfshark. In a world where governments, big tech and opportunist hackers are all vying for your data, keeping your browsing private isn't optional, it's essential. And here in the UK, we've even seen sites and reporting, some of our own, at Outspoken, pushed behind the Online Safety Act. So that's why I use Surfshark VPN. It shields what I do online, helps me steer clear of censorship, and lets me access the content I pay for wherever I am, even when I'm traveling and want to catch up on shows or sport that don't appear in the particular zone. But Surfshark isn't just a VPN, it's a full toolkit for safer browsing. Clean web block ads, trackers, malware, and phishing links so pages load cleaner and faster. It's a beautiful experience, actually. And if your connection ever drops, Kill Switch cuts the internet so your data doesn't leak. And if you need certain apps like online banking to skip the VPN, Bypasser handles that with a couple of clicks. There are 3,200 plus servers in over 100 countries, so you can switch locations in seconds. Great for finding better online deals. I have to be honest with you, I have snagged some cheaper flights thanks to Surfshark. And you can run Surfshark on unlimited devices too, which means your whole household is covered in one plan. If you want to lock down your data, defend your online freedom, and support Outspoken, head to surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code Outspoken at checkout to get an extra 4 months of Surfshark VPN. That's surfshark.com/outspoken or use the code Outspoken for an extra 4 months on us. You can click in the description box below this video too. But now, back to the show. Yeah, I don't actually disagree with her. But Farage was also right not to apologise for Sarah Pochin. Sarah Pochin said nothing wrong. So what all of these people need to do is just laugh off these ludicrous attacks by a completely corrupt mainstream media. A mainstream media which, by the way, is the enemy of the people. Have you seen who they are trying to rehabilitate over the past 24 hours? But I'm sure you won't be surprised. It is worth watching, though. Yep, that violence-supporting anti-Semite who called for the murder of everyone in the IDF, Bob Villan. He is now the victim.
I have become a public target of this country and the institutions that it has under its control and at its disposal. So, yes, that can be the police force. It can also be the media. It is also the politicians, because there are politicians that have gotten involved in the actions of a punk band. It does not surprise me, I suppose, that this country would want to use everything it has at its disposal to break me. It does not surprise me, because I have seen it through history. I have to just continue to rise to the occasion. If it's a criminal investigation, I'll fight that. If it's the media, I will fight that. You know, if it's the politicians and the lobby groups behind them, I will fight that. They've picked the wrong one. I was 13 or 14 with posters of Malcolm X and Huey Newton on my wall, reading Marcus Garvey, painting my bedroom red, black and green, and painting a Pan-African flag on the whole wall.
Your mum loved that, yeah?
She was indifferent to it. That is who I am at my core. I believe in what I'm doing, I will not be moved.
No, you are a violence-supporting prick. That's what you are. And if you're on the other side of politics, you would be cancelled by the mainstream media. Now they're trying to paint you as some sort of victim. It's insane. And remember, the MSM have also decided to ignore the type of faux pas that would be leading the news were it a Reform or Tory politician who had made it. I mean, this one is actually unbelievable, folks, but I'm here for it. Calamity Lammy, our truly calamitous Deputy Prime Minister, told staff at the Ministry of Justice that his second top male role model was Bill Cosby. As Chris Rose put it, yes, Bill, who was accused by over 60 women for rape, drug-facilitated sexual assault, sexual battery, child sexual abuse, and sexual harassment. Odd choice. Guido Fawkes, which broke this story, reported that Lammy was recording a video for the Ministry of Justice International Men's Day. He said growing up, his personal top male role model was Nelson Mandela, so far so predictable. When asked who his second top choice was, the Deputy Prime Minister said Bill Cosby. The footage had to be cut. Of course, the first allegations against Bill Cosby were made in late 1965. This was very well known. And in 2022, Cosby was found liable in the Los Angeles Supreme Court for having sexually assaulted a 16-year-old girl. The Ministry of Justice officially declined to comment, but a source close to Lammy, doing some terrible damage control, said, "This is a distortion. Lammy's view is that Cosby's crimes were abhorrent and he does not represent a role model for anyone in society. Lammy has previously talked about Cosby being seen as a role model in the 1980s for many young men before his horrific crimes were known, in an era when positively portrayed black faces were few and far between on TV. Interesting that he still named him as his second favourite man ever in that case. As Carol Malone put it, OMG, it just never stops. Hashtag thick as mints." And I mean, seriously, the UK's second in command really is as thick as mints.
If it feels like neighbourhood policing has vanished, it's not around you. We haven't seen a police while I've been here, and I've been here for a little while now.
What was the married name of the scientists Marie and Pierre who won the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1903 for their research into radiation?
Antoinette.
Curie. James Gandolfini played a mafia boss called Tony in which American television series?
Godfather.
The Sopranos. Which variety of blue English cheese traditionally accompanies port?
Leicester.
Stilton. Who acceded to the English throne at the age of 9 on the death of his father Henry VIII in 1547?
Henry VII.
Edward VI. In chemistry, what French word is used for a tube for transferring measured amounts of liquids?
Pass. I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the...
Thick as mints and dangerous. But of course, with that mob set to destroy the economy in tomorrow's budget, it's only a matter of time before a massive clear out, even though the truly delusional Rachel Thieves told Labour MPs last night, "I'll show the media, I'll show the Tories, I will not let them beat me. I'll be there on Wednesday, I'll be there next year, and I'll be back the year after." Yeah, right, love. Problem is that even your most senior colleagues don't believe that. With Wes Streeting's allies now plotting a coronation after May's election. The Health Secretary's backers say he is a safer bet to replace Keir Starmer than left-wing rivals like Angela Rayner, and that changing leader should not involve a contest. All I can say is 3 words. General election now. For analysis, let me bring in today's superstar panel. Leilani Dowding and Elizabeth Fox both with me today. Leilani, isn't it extraordinary contrasting the bravery of an Australian Prime Minister like Pauline Hanson, who is prepared to actually put her money where her mouth is, go into the Australian Senate wearing this burqa, allow all of the left to prove their total hypocrisy, which is that they want to ban her for wearing something that they claim there's no issue with, compared to our politicians who still tiptoe around what's really going on in this country, Leilani, the true danger that we are facing because of the fear of being called racist. And didn't we see it there in that TV interview with Nigel Farage, where I think he should have just said, you're being utterly ridiculous, but instead is clearly terrified.
Absolutely, Dan. I think this is a problem. People are too scared of hurty words. And we're in a situation now in this country where there are people getting stabbed in a daily basis, even at school. So they're talking to Nigel about what happened when he was at school 50 years ago. In school now, children get stabbed, right? Children get stabbed on the streets. Women get dragged down alleyways, into churchyards, on the beach, into toilets, into bushes, and they're getting raped. And we're talking still about hurty words. I mean, it's gone crazy, Dan. I just saw that there was somebody involved with dealing 200 million pounds worth of heroin into the country. They got suspended sentences, and Lucy Connolly went to jail for hurty words. It's like, to me, it's under tyranny. They want to put people away for words. They don't want to put people away that are causing the real issues. So they keep on talking about hurty words, bad tweets, bad social media posts, what you did when you were a child 50 years ago. But they will not talk about what is going on today around this country, because I think, they're allowing it and they're facilitating it.
And
they're
it's
letting
too
it happen.
horrific, isn't it? It's too horrific for words. And then Elizabeth Fox, you're a legal expert, trained lawyer, and we learned today that pretty much all jury trials are going to go, such a fundamental part of our system. And to me, again, this is the chipping away at the mirage of democracy. Like, what is the UK justice system if we do not have a jury trial? Yet they try and say, oh, this is all just about clearing the backlog. Well, we only have a backlog in place because of your incompetence. And you're now going to use that incompetence to strip away our right to be judged by our peers, which I think is increasingly important at a time when I am losing faith. I mean, I've probably already lost faith, and I imagine you have, in our justice system in many ways.
Completely. You're so right. First of all, it's not democracy if we are not free to. It is our right to have a jury trial, and it's not a valid reason to say just because they have a backlog because of their incompetency, or because, hold on a minute, we have a backlog because why? We have so many more crimes now being committed because we have an influx of people coming into this country illegally that are committing a lot of crimes, serious crimes, and therefore there are long lists. All the courts up and down this country where people are waiting for trials, people are waiting to actually have these people that have committed crimes convicted. We should always be able to have the right to have a jury trial. It is absolutely one of our fundamental rights within the justice system. But unfortunately, we don't have a justice system. We don't.
No, we don't.
Because like Lani's example just there, somebody got a suspended sentence for one thing, somebody else goes to jail for hurty words.
Totally. And meanwhile, Leilani, we learn, but again, we only learn because we follow this stuff, right? And we look for these stories that in the UK is a suspected Islamist terrorist who is actually partly responsible, it looks like, for those bombings in Sri Lanka, which killed 6 Brits. And, it's written as like, oh, this asylum seeker is seeking asylum in the United Kingdom. No, Leilani, he's here already. This Islamist terrorist is here illegally, and we are allowing him here, and we're not revealing his name. I mean, honestly, I despair.
Well, this is the thing, and I feel like this is why there are so many protests up and down the country where people end up getting called racist because they see this and they're sick of it. So, obviously, as you said, we follow this kind of thing, so we see it. And let's not forget the man that raped a woman in Hyde Park who was living in a taxpayer-funded hotel, the Hilton Hotel. He had also been jailed for creating bombs in Egypt. So this isn't a one-off that we have terrorists coming in here. And as you said, if they're here and are claiming asylum, it means they're here already. You don't claim asylum from abroad. You have to get yourself into the country. You say, oh, I'm an asylum seeker. They're going to persecute me if I get sent back. So that's how they do it. And, you know, it's funny. They're even getting rewarded for their crimes, because I've seen cases where there have been rapists that have said, well, you know, I'm now a convicted rapist. If I get sent back to Pakistan or Afghanistan, I'm going to be persecuted because they don't allow rapists in my country. You know, they come down a lot harder. So for me, this is absolute insanity that this is going on. And we're literally allowing it to happen in this country. Multiculturalism has completely and utterly failed.
Yes. Yes, it has. And we just have to start saying it time and again. As, by the way, that BBC poll proved, 95% of people. Just wanted to share a couple of posts on this breaking news about the jury trials. Julia Hartley Brewer wrote, a couple of years ago, I did jury service for the first time. I was overwhelmed by how seriously all of my fellow jurors took their duty to deliver the right verdict. It isn't a perfect system, but it's the best one humans have ever come up with. We must fight to keep it. And Bernie Spofford responded saying, I've also done jury service and agree. Everyone took it incredibly seriously. We reviewed evidence, asked questions and made decisions. I refuse to allow this to be scrubbed from justice without us even voting for the change. And I agree. This is about democracy. This is our next fight. Okay, this is our fight now to protect our justice system, to protect our right to a jury trial. It is everything about being British. And they can't simply just nod this through based on incompetence. It's not going to fly. And I'm going to be speaking and campaigning much more about this in the coming weeks.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.